So today's self-development topic is what Diwali teaches us about mindfulness. As always, let's start our discussion with a question. What is Diwali? Diwali, or Deepavali as it's referred to in certain parts of the world, means many lights. It simply means many lights. The word Diya or Deep means light, and the word Avali means many, or it could also mean rows. So Diwali means many lights, or it can mean rows and rows of lights. So today I'd like to talk about the cultural significance of Diwali, as well as the psychological and the spiritual significance and the psychological and spiritual lessons that Diwali tries to teach us. But before we start talking about those, I'd like to start with some pictures of Diwali to help set the mood. It's a nice picture I found on the internet of this nice house set up with so many lights, right? So these lights or diyas, it truly shows us the meaning of Diwali, right? Because it's many lights together, and all of these lights together create a beautiful spectacle. Another picture I loved was of these little girls, and I especially love the the youngest girl sitting there cross-legged. It reminds me of the Diwalis I used to have. My sister, who's 11 years younger than I am. So in the Diwalis of my childhood, she used to be the same size and age as this little girl. And just like her, she used to sit and point and direct and tell me how the arrangement should be. And I used to be this apprentice. I used to be really happy to, hear out her vision and implement it the best I could. Another wonderful picture I found. So this is a place in Karnataka in India. And to the top left, if you notice, there are temples. And there's a river right on the right. So because the river is right close to the temples, it means that the river is considered sacred uh, by the people who attend these temples. So, and you can see that there's diyas on the steps that lead to this river, and this person's trying to jump over the diyas. I'm sure there's another way to get to the river, because I can't imagine having to jump over these diyas if you're either wearing a sari or a kurta, which is another traditional garment. So I'm sure there's another way to get to the river. These two pictures I took at my parents' apartment in Mumbai. So the picture on the right is a lantern that my dad made at home, and the left is also another lantern, I think from another year. That one looks like it was purchased from somewhere. So the lanterns are also like an important part of Diwali. All households, if you live in an apartment, you have it in your balcony. If you live in a house, you have it in your front yard or your backyard. And the picture to the left, if you notice, there's also like, you can see part of this snow icicle. Like it's a giant icicle that my father got from Germany when he was visiting for work. So there's like these cross-cultural artifacts along with the setting sun, which I think is like the oldest cultural artifact, along with it also like serving as an important source of energy for us. Last picture, again from my parents' apartment. So in Indian households, people not only light diyas, but they also make lights with whatever household objects they can find. So my mom used this jar along with this string of lights. So I loved it that she had it last year. So let's talk about Diwali now. Like really, what does Diwali mean? So some of like the most popular, commonly used definitions of Diwali are: Diwali is like the victory. Is Diwali celebration of the victory of light over darkness, or it can be celebrating the victory of knowledge over ignorance, or of good over evil. Diwali is usually tied to mythological tales that includes lots of deities across different cultures, mostly in southern Eastern Asia, but also parts of, I think, Africa, and also like people all over the world celebrate it for whatever reason. And it's all still Diwali. It's all still a celebration some sort of light over darkness or some sort of good over evil. Coming to the most important question, how long is the celebration? So there are really 5 days that have special significance, but the actual celebration can last for as long as a whole month to as little as a day. So it depends really on the people that celebrate, on the families, or on the cultures that these families exist in. But there are these five days that are usually considered significant. Lots of gifts are involved. People usually gift people that they care for, including themselves. People gift themselves, like I gifted myself this year, like I always do. Of course, people reach out to their old friends, old family members, newly made family members. Doesn't matter if you met that person yesterday or this morning, you still would try to meet them as often as you can during Diwali. And um, a facet of Diwali that I've observed that I found really interesting as a child was I noticed people not only celebrate each other during Diwali, but they also celebrate aspects of natures or objects around us, and even places. Like people during certain rituals in these 5 days, they might worship their place of residence or their place of work, or their and definitely their place of worship. So let's talk more about these 5 days, right? So this is the cultural significance of Diwali. First day is called Dhanteras, in parts that celebrate Diwali. I'm sure there's many other names for this day, but Dhanteras is when people recognize and celebrate their wealth. And by wealth, I don't mean necessarily monetary wealth, though it could be part of the celebration. But the dhan or the wealth, it really means people's health, like people's well-being. So people celebrate their well-being. People celebrate the opportunities that they have. And some people also just merely celebrate their existence because they consider their existence to be their biggest wealth, which I completely agree with, because if we don't exist, how can we enjoy other kinds of wealth? Also, most people I think start decorating, cleaning their houses, places of work much before Dhanteras, but Dhanteras could be like a good demarcation point as to this is when you could start if you haven't started yet. But I know many households start before Dhanteras, they start decorating, cleaning their households. And I think these decorations, these cleanings, I think they go on much beyond the 5 or 10 days of Diwali. Second day is Narak Chaturdashi. So Narak literally means hell. Uh, but this day, people celebrate, pray, and convey their gratitude to their ancestors. So that is the Narak part in this word. And another ritual is people arise or wake in the morning before sunrise, and they bathe using this paste made out of sandalwood, turmeric, milk, honey. And this paste, like, it makes you feel good, makes you feel clean. So you've cleaned your house in Dhanteras. In Narak Chaturdashi, you've cleaned yourself. um, Day 3 is Lakshmi Pujan. This is supposed to be like the day of Diwali, the most important day of Diwali. Lakshmi is the name of a goddess. Pujan means puja or ritual. So on this day, you feast, right? Unlike many other Indian celebrations or festivals where you fast, on Lakshmi Pujan, you actually feast with your friends, with your families, you exchange gifts, you burst fireworks, firecrackers, though it's not necessarily environmentally friendly. And people pray to Lakshmi, and Lakshmi is the goddess of happiness and prosperity. So people not only pray to Lakshmi, but people also pray to, let's say, avatars or types of expressions of Lakshmi. So people, they pray to their tools of trade. So like for me, I pray to my computer because that is my tool of trade. So the computer is how Lakshmi presented herself to me. And through this iteration of Lakshmi, she's helping me, get happier, feel more prosperous. So, right, like my father had a friend who was a carpenter. I think he still is. He was an excellent carpenter. So he used to pray to his tools on this day, along with the actual idol of Lakshmi too. If you're a farmer, you're gonna pray to the clouds and the rain gods. Um, Day 4 is Padwa. This is when husbands honor their wives. So according to like the Hindu Indian scriptures, the universe is said to made out of these dualistic forces. So one of these forces is considered to be the masculine force. The other one is considered to be the feminine force. So the masculine force is considered to be like the power that creates the universe, and the feminine force is considered to be like the material or the fabric out of which the universe is created. So Padwa is a day to recognize both of these forces within us. So again, spiritually speaking, these forces aren't tied to our gender. So I believe there's both of these forces existing within me and within everybody else. So for me, Padwa is a day when I acknowledge these forces within me and celebrate them through my wife. Last day is Bhau Beej. Bhau means brother, Beej means bond. This is a day when sisters celebrate their bonds with their brothers. They thank them for their protection, support. So there's another festival in India called Raksha Bandhan that takes place sometime in spring. And on Raksha Bandhan, brothers promise, take a vow to protect and help their sisters. So Bhau Beej, which is celebrated in fall, is when sisters thank their brothers for their protection, for their support. Right? So this was like the cultural significance of Diwali. Let's talk about the psychological aspect of it. I think Dhanteras, it encourages us to recognize and appreciate what we have, right? It can be anything. It can be the things that I have. Again, as I said, the opportunities that I have. And as I said, and as I've noticed since I was a child, like I know people, they celebrate they celebrate that they're existing, right? That is also the biggest wealth, in my opinion, is our existence. So recognizing is such a huge step, right? So once you recognize it, you feel, wow, I actually never considered how good it is to exist, right? So this is a day that encourages you to recognize everything that you could consider as a blessing. Second day, Narak Chaturdashi, is, as I said, you thank, appreciate your ancestors. But I don't think it's just your biological ancestors. I think this day encourages us to realize that it is our biological ancestors because of whom we're here, but also everybody else who has contributed to this very moment, right? Because somebody had to make this shirt, somebody else had to make this computer, somebody else had to make the internet cables. So thanks to all of these folks, we're here, and we're here in this unique moment that was never created before and never will be replicated from this point onwards. So thank you, all of you folks, for creating this special moment. I think that's what this day tells us. This most important day, Lakshmi Pujan, it tells us to take a moment, or I mean, in Diwali's case, take a few days to appreciate the good things in life, right? And these good things in life are simple. We're humans, we're social creatures, so we like other humans who, in some way make us feel good. So Lakshmi Pujan, or just Diwali in general, keeps reminding us to, hey, take it easy, to meet with folks who make you feel good, who have some stake in your well-being. And along with people, we also need nourishment in terms of food. Eat good food, eat good homemade food that's delicious but also healthy for you. It's about to get cold outside, so why don't you rest, take care of yourself. I think that is what this most important day in Diwali tells us to. Lastly, Padwa and Bhalbij, I think they encourage us to recognize and honor our support systems, right? Our significant other has, our siblings. If it's not siblings, maybe it's just our friends or our colleagues. Like all of these folks, in some way or the other, they're in the same boat as us. So let's recognize them, let's celebrate them, let's honor them, because they're also facing their own battles, and they're also willing to be with us while we face ours. How beautiful is that? So let's acknowledge that. So I think this is the psychological significance of Diwali, and be it one day or be it a whole month, depending again on your cultural, psychological, personal orientation. I think Diwali tries to reinforce these psychological lessons on us, and definitely eventually we do end up feeling better. Be it that we celebrate Diwali for a day or for a whole month. I think it definitely does have positive effects on us, psychologically speaking. Now I'd like to talk about the psycho-spiritual significance of Diwali, or like the half psychological, half spiritual significance of Diwali. What is the slightly psychological yet slightly spiritual thing that Diwali really tells me. And over the years, right, I've been trying to maintain like this journal. And over the years, I think it just always keeps telling me this one thing, which is that we're not alone. Excuse me. Diwali keeps telling me that we're not alone, that somebody else other than myself is rooting for me. They're invested in my well-being. And that somebody else, could be anybody. It could be my other half, it could be my colleague, my manager, my friend, my sibling. I don't know, like this person who services my car, he likes my car, so maybe he just, wishes me the best. And it's good, right? Just in some way, knowing that there's somebody else that's invested in my well-being apart from myself, I'm not in this alone, is a pretty huge deal, I think. And if we take a whole day, as in the case of Diwali, or like a whole month to contemplate this and to really experience this, I think it's going to make us feel so much lesser alone, right? And I mean, of course, we might be alone in certain occasions. We might definitely be alone physically, but emotionally, like spiritually, right? There are folks around who are not like in the same room as I am, but they're vouching for me, and that's a good comforting feeling, a good comforting fact. So staying on this same psycho spiritual point of discussion, I tried to Google for a few more pictures about us not being alone. And these were like the two pictures that I think summed up most of of the images that Google served me when I searched for this. Most of the pictures I found were sort of these extraterrestrial photos, with darkness and with certain sources of light. And all of them made me feel the same way. And it could not be just these pictures. Like if I just step out right now, stare in the sky away from the city lights, I'm gonna be filled with sort of a fear of the unknown, right? There's darkness. And there's fear in my heart, but also there's so much awe. Like it looks so beautiful. Even these like computer generated images or like a real photo of like, let's say like a galaxy, they look so beautiful, right? And I think Diwali tries to invoke the same feeling in us. It tries to make us confront the darkness. And as we are, because of the tradition, we start, visiting these corners of our homes, these, let's say, these drawers in our closet, as we try to like air out our dirty laundry, or as we like visit corners of our social circle, which we like didn't necessarily get a chance to visit as often as we'd like. We visit these quote unquote dark corners, and we clean them, we decorate them, let's say with rangoli or with these diyas, and we notice, hey, like this corner actually looks so beautiful, right? um, and I think this is what Diwali tells us. And the word itself, Diwali, right? If one diya, if one lamp looks so beautiful, many lamps are gonna look so much more beautiful, right? And if I could light this one lamp in this one corner and make it seem beautiful, and make the darkness vanish, I have the power to face any sort of metaphorical darkness, because darkness, it's just a type of perception. It's just the absence of light. So when I do light the light, it's not dark anymore. It's just beautiful. And maybe in some situations, like you do need the darkness to complement the light, and like this juxtaposition actually creates beauty. So I think that's what Diwali tells us, to embrace this metaphorical, this emotional, spiritual darkness that might be within us, that might be without us, and just to make it beautiful. Because if we see darkness, it's in some way it's our responsibility to light it in some way. I think that is what really Diwali tells us. And so as we start confronting this darkness, this other lesson that Diwali tells us is to trust our perception. Like if we feel something is dark, let's trust that, and let's make it light. Let's put some rangoli in it, right? And I think this, I think knowing this, knowing that I am the light that can bring light in any sort of darkness, I think this is the real victory of knowledge over ignorance, or like this is the real victory of light over darkness. And I think this light, you know, spreading this light continues like even around me, right? Like, let's say if I'm feeling the darkness within me and I, in some way make myself feel good, if I have the power of making myself feel good, I have the power of making somebody else feel good too. So let me share that. I think that's what Diwali tells me. And lastly, it tells me to embrace the transience of everything, the temporariness of everything. Diwali tells me, hey, celebrations are not going to last forever. So instead of being anxious about tomorrow, why don't you just enjoy the celebrations for right now? Because guess what? If the celebrations don't last forever, neither will your sufferings. So when you do, happen to face something that makes you suffer, you trust that, you trust the process, you trust yourself, you trust those around you, like whatever, your ancestors, your support systems, your tools, you trust your training. And trust being like this important word here, or like this important idea here that keeps being repeated. And I think it's important because trust, it it sort of makes me aware of everybody else who's rooting for me, and that makes me feel more humble, and that makes me feel more open. And as I feel more open, I let myself be helped by these entities, right? This entity can be, again, my coworker, or it can be this software update that's gonna come, visit my computer and make it work better for me. So I just, allow myself to be helped. And I think that's big. Like speaking for myself, I know I am my strongest and my weakest link. Like I have been the first person to, say no to somebody who actually, had good intentions to help me. So, had I known better then, I would have let them help me. I would have let them feel happier. But hey, better late than never. So this brings me to my last slide. So as I was, putting everything together, I thought about this quote: "You're never alone or helpless. The force that guides the stars guides you too." Right? So like this sense of trust, this awareness that there is something rooting going on for you apart from just yourself, right? Like if there's something that made the stars, the planet spin around, that, like created like all of these objects out of nothing, if this, took place, you took place, and, if you got all along to this point in time, hey, you're gonna, carry forward. And you don't know if it's gonna be better or worse, but you don't need to keep worrying about that. Why don't you just focus on what's right now? So I love this quote, and I love this person who wrote it. His name is Mr. Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar. He is the founder of this school of meditation. So he's my spiritual guru. I follow the system of meditation that he prescribed, and it's changed my life. It's meant so much for me, and I love that he had this quote that fits in right in this deck. So with that said, oops, happy Diwali and thank you. And I'd like to know what you guys thought of this presentation. I'm sorry I went longer than I had thought about, but it's just a big topic, Diwali. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I'd like to hear what you guys thought of it, if you have anything to share. If you, unknowingly use Diwali's lessons without even ever having to celebrate Diwali.
Thank you, Arpurva. I really enjoyed this presentation and the depth to which you discussed Diwali. And I don't know, it just really touched me. And I'm thinking about how true it is. And also I heard today there's some big news in Peru that there was this president who was not liked by the people, and the people of Peru marched in the streets, and then the president resigned, and he said, "Okay, I'm giving in to the will of the people," and it just felt like victory of light over darkness, of knowledge over ignorance, and um, I just appreciated that. And some oftentimes I think of myself as not being very powerful because I'm not a politician. I'm not the CEO of a major corporation or whatever, and so I usually think that I don't have a lot of power. But what I appreciate about Deepavali is the reminder. There's that quote of like one light can light many others. I did not say that well, but something to that effect of how the little light that I have then lights this other thing and this other thing and the other thing, and then it creates this row. So every person has an impact, and Diwali tells us that.
Mhm. Definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Radha. Yeah, that could, yeah, fits right into our discussion, to the feeling of Diwali. And yeah, I guess the president, the ex-president of Peru, I think he let the other people help him finally, right? Help him feel better. I'm sure he's gonna feel better about this whole thing. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, wonderful. I'm gonna read out a comment that we have on Facebook Live, I think. It's by Martha. Namaskar, Martha. She's saying Happy Diwali. Saying so interesting. She does agree with me. She says, yes, we are the light, sharing lights to others. So okay, she has more. Yep. And I think she echoes Radha's sentiments too, right? About the same feeling of lighting the light within others. Anybody else have anything else to say about Diwali or about the presentation?
Hi, namaskar. Yes, I really enjoyed the presentation. I loved when you spoke about how every light is beautiful. And by chance today, I was just thinking about it. Years ago, a while ago, I was just looking at traffic and I was watching cars go by. It was nighttime and all these cars were passing. And when you look at the cars, you see the red brake lights. And I was looking at all these red brake lights and I was saying to myself, they're not just brake lights. There's a person operating each and every one of those cars. And as a yoga instructor, I always end my class by saying, the light in me honors the light in you. And it's the same light. It's just that when we expand our consciousness to see who we are as a collective, we become more than just individuals driving individual cars with individual lights.
Mhm.
So I just happen to be thinking about that today, and it's a thought that comes to my mind every so often. And so thank you for reminding us about this celebration of lights.
Mhm.
It was very, very good. Thank you.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, it reminds me of this TED talk I was listening to or watching of a person who's I think he is a data scientist, but I think he used to contract for UNESCO or some maybe the UN, and so he used to work on analyzing data, and he used to paint a picture of what's really happening in the world, and using his data algorithms, um, I think like governments like rerouted water supplies and made them more efficient, so that more people actually ended up getting more water, despite the government spending just as much energy in transporting that water from the streams to the cities or like to the villages. And somebody asked him like, what helps you look at data differently than other data scientists who work behind a computer terminal and who only are driven by analyzing numbers and making sure corporations make more money. So this person shared a very similar thing, Anushila. He said, I just remind myself that all of this so-called data, like all of these numbers, they can be, in the tens or they can be in the millions. I need to remind myself that there is a person or a family that's representing this data point. And when I remind myself of that, like these bar charts transform themselves to like the actual story that's happening. And it's just my job to just tell this story that the data is telling me. Yeah, thank you for sharing that beautiful, yes, vision of the car brake lights. Another viewer who's my aunt on Facebook. She's saying wonderful presentation. Thank you, Atya. We also have my wife's mom and my wife's aunt, who are both like her moms on today's call. So thank you guys for attending. Uh, Anybody else has anything to say? If not, maybe we can I can move on to the announcements, Shada, for you. Sneha has something to say.
Namaskar. So, as we were talking about lights, so just a thought came in my mind that everyone has that light inside everyone's mind or heart. So, we just need to follow that light whenever we need to recognize it. And definitely, that light will help us and lead to something good. So, I really want to share that. Thank you. Namaskar.
Shada, should I go on to the announcements now? I don't see
Yes.
any more.
If you can pop up the PowerPoint.
Yeah, here we are. And that's the announcements.
Okay, so thank you all for coming. Just as we're closing out, if you haven't already, check out our other programs. We have V-Star Circle events throughout the week. I'd love to see you on some of those as well. Next week, we'll be talking about, what are we talking about at Porva next week?
Actually, I'm going to get back to you guys about the topic because I'm still working on 2 different topics. So I need to see which one flows better.
All right, so stay tuned for next week's topic, but it's going to be a good one, so come back.
Yeah.
Again, we have this fundraiser coming up, just having you be conscious of this in your mind. We haven't picked our date just yet, but it's coming, so, you know, be thinking about that. And again, there will be no online meditation on Sunday, November 29th due to Thanksgiving, so just spend that weekend and time, hopefully with some sort of celebration. You don't have to worry about trying to squeeze in like a family Zoom call and an online meditation with us because we're not having it. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. I'll see you next Sunday. Namaskar. Thank you.